Hey yo, hey, hey, be a way, oh, hey yo, hey, be a way, oh, hey yo, hey yo, hey, be a way, oh, hey yo, hey yo, remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free. Remember me.
God Morgen, my friends, and happy Mani's Day to you. Praise the gods. Today we speak about the control and understanding of our mental processes with the thought of Mani, the god, the Norse god of the moon. Before we get started today, I want to give a huge shout out to newrealitytv.com. New Reality provides a plethora of perspectives that can help us to obtain or maintain our mental space by understanding our interactivity between the spiritual realm each and every day. The gods and the spirits all guide us to help us to understand our path and those things that will influence us and change us along the way. As always, I deeply appreciate all of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed, and ask for those of you who haven't, please find one of our many channels that we broadcast on, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, or TikTok, or even newrealitytv.com, and like, follow, and subscribe us there. Ring the bells and do the secret handshakes with the interfaces that you may be able to be notified each and every morning as we come to you live each and every morning, and of course on Wednesday nights with Sporgs Mall. So join us for all of those presentations and help us to spread the word that we are indeed in control of the path that allows us to obtain and maintain our mental space. For those of you who are not video or want to follow us via audio, wherever you get your podcasts, of course, For Fellerness Belisnig is available for download, and for those of you who have liked, followed, and subscribed to us on all the many different audio podcasts, thank you so much. For those of you who may have a few extra coins, want to drop it into our tip jar, and to help us to further support this message, by all means, hit up our tip jar, and we'll be honored to use those funds in ways that can benefit our fellow human beings by broadcasting this message even further, and by getting out and being in the public eye. And again, the same thing, just broadcasting our message. But those of you who may be struggling, can't get your, maybe need an extra ear to bend, or just someone who can understand, by all means, visit my website at norsewhispers.com. There you can go to coaching, and let's have a conversation. Let's start a dialogue where we can hopefully find you an answer to obtain or maintain your mental space. Finally, before we get started this morning, I want to say, for me it's over here, but anyway, for those of you who would like to join us in the live chat, of course, Facebook Live is providing us with our chat this morning, our live chat that hopefully we can get you an answer to. So today we're talking about the Norse god Mani, and we're talking about control. So let's back up and let's talk about the Norse god Mani for just a moment. Now, Norse god Mani was what the Norse believed who was represented on the physical plane with the moon. And he brought a balance to his sister, of course, his sister being Sol, the sun. Now, these two worked in harmony together, as Sol would bring the day and the heat of the day to allow the crops to grow and allow life to thrive, right? In this illumination that she would bring to Midgard. Illumination is intellect. So if you think about when we're warmed by Sol, the sun, during the day, we're being educated. We're seeing experiences, right? We're witnessing the reality at which we live. This is illumination. We're being educated. We're being illuminated. Now, on the backside of Sol every day, we would slide into the darkness of the evening. Now, the evening, of course, the darkness of the evening. Well, what does the darkness represent? The darkness represents that energy that we receive that is not yet illuminated, or those questions that drive us, right? So we're seeking the more intellect. What happens very frequently is that we will receive intellect through the illumination of the sun, or the illumination provided by studies or books or whatever. We're receiving this illumination, and it's going to be stored in the memory with other pieces of knowledge, right? With knowledge you've already obtained, maybe yesterday, maybe a year ago, maybe even many years ago. And this intellect, this new intellect, is going to interact with this older intellect, and it's going to try to find relationships, related data that it can both relate to, that actually interlocks this new intellect with the old intellect. So it's trying to find its way, and originally it may bump heads like these fingertips here, and eventually what we want it to do is just kind of shift and then all come together. But most often than not, this intellect comes into our knowledge, our old knowledge here, new knowledge here, and it's kind of bumping heads like this. And what's going to happen is this is where Mani is going to kind of pick up on this, and Mani is going to say, well, why? What is it going to take to shift just a little bit, right? And that's the question that drives us. That's the question that then says, well, I just learned this new thing and I already know this old thing. How do they interact? This is the question. And this is how your mind works, right? So we bring in new intellect, we have the old intellect. It kind of originally, it's going to bump like so, and we're going to get the question, well, how can I shift? And eventually the following day, as we re-illuminate, we gain illumination, we start answering the questions that we've spurred here. And what's going to happen is you're going to find a shift, and then they're going to come together. Which is how often times we see, we think about things and we kind of mull them around in our heads. And it may take a little bit of time for it to go, got it. It clicks, right? This is the idea of clicks. When that thing shifts just a little bit and they come together, click. So this is really how you think. It's really how you process everything, whether it be an intellectual or a knowledge-based tact, or whether it be an emotional tact. Both of them work the same way, in that you have a new recognition of a new emotion. The new emotion kind of bucks up against the old emotion, the way we used to feel, and it kind of says, well, all right, why isn't this working? There's the question. The following night, Mani, of course, we're driving the questions, and Mani's going to go out and seek us the information and return it to us, and we'll find the shift, click, right? And so we begin to feel. Now, this is almost all emotion processes the same way intellect does, same way all energy does, into our mind, using our physical sensory inputs and our spiritual connection to our spiritual mind. Okay, all of them are identically the same. They all process the same way. This is super critical in understanding your thought process. Now, many people say, well, I just think. You do. I congratulate you. You are a very thinking person. But understanding how emotions, which is a different type of intellect, how emotion affect what you process. Okay? We've said before, we'll say it many times again, as we experience our world through our physical sensory input, whichever it may be, we're bringing in intellect. This is what's happening in our view, in our picture of the world, right? And we're processing that into our brain. Now, there are some of those things that we're going to see or hear or smell or taste or maybe even touch. And what's going to happen is our brain is going to go, I just can't believe that. That's totally against everything I've ever known, right? And those types of instances is where we kind of get this conflict. And we have to then take some time, to take some physical realm time to then process it, ask the questions, and then click, right? When emotions comes in through this physical sensory input, regardless whether we recognize the emotion or not, right? And so emotion is on every piece of energy. There's a little signature on it that says this is the way you should feel. Doesn't mean that we have to feel that way. It simply means that's what the energy is telling us. Okay? It's the energy of an emotion is coming in through this same physical sensory input. And as it comes into our physical sensory input, it's going to go through an emotional filter. Now, the emotional filter was set in the last present. So we may feel, kind of a doldrum, maybe whatever, right? And we're kind of bumming about that maybe. And then a new, exciting, happy experience comes into our sensory input. And this emotional filter says, no, we're bumming right now. So that emotion or that signature is not as important as what I already know, right? Because I'm feeling bummer. I'm just bummed out right now, right? I'm kind of sad or whatever. And so this new happy emotion comes in, and it's going to buck. It's just totally going to go against what the emotional filter is set as. Now, the emotional filter recognizes the signature, but it has its own already. So what it's going to do is it's going to send down here to our heart instructions to release the hormones that supports what it already feels. So it's going to send a signal to the heart to say, hey, release hormones that keeps me feeling bumming, right? Because that's what I feel, right? Now, the heart does exactly what it's asking, and that hormone reaches the brain. The brain looks at the chemical composition and says, yep, based on my recipe card, this is bummer, so I'm feeling bummer, and so I'm going to reset my emotional filters. I'm going to reset the border of my aura, and that's the way it's going to be, and that's the way I'll store the memory. However, as I've mentioned before, there's one more gate. There's one more gate after this emotional filter that we get the opportunity to change. Is that we can say, wait. I'm feeling bummer, but that's a really good experience. That's a really happy experience. I want to be happy. I have the power and the authority to change, to switch, to say, no, you know what? I'm not going to be bummer. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be glad. I'm going to be just super thrilled that I've had this experience. That's the experience I want, right? I want a happy experience. I have a me gate, and the me gate allows us to control the outcome of two things. Firstly, I'm going to remanipulate this energy that I have sent through my processor I'm going to manipulate that to a happy memory so that when it's stored in my memory, I remember it in a pleasant way, in a happy way, right? But more importantly, I'm going to cause a circle within the mind. The circle is going to bring that happy emotion back to my emotional filter. So I'm going to manually reset my emotional filter to process future present experiences. I'm going to now process them with this happy outlook. All right? So that's that circle, that cycle of deciding, of after the me gate makes a choice and says, nope, we are going to be happy. Now, many times, I should say most of the time, we decide that we just let it go, let it ride, whatever it is. And there's too much, I don't know, too much thinking around it, whatever the case. And we're just going to, no, whatever comes through is just the way we store it. Good, right? And a lot of times we do that. I would say most of the cases in our lives, our experiences, my grandchildren now, teenagers and whatnot, and they're using the phrase meh, right? Meh. Meh means kind of meh, whatever, right? I call it the Marvin Milquetoast answer, right? So, and no offense to those Marvins out there. Anyway, they're not controlling it, they're just allowing it, right? So we're just surrendering to whatever is processed, whatever comes through our brain. Good, right? We're not making a stand. We're not using our me gate the way the me gate is designed. The me gate is designed that you and I have control of this emotional energy. We control the narrative, right? We don't allow other people and other experiences to control our memories, right? This goes to my mother, and wonderfully, yesterday, of course, being Mother's Day, she was here with me and my family. Matter of fact, you can still see here it is. My wife, of course, receiving her Mother's Day gifts from all of her sons here in Alaska. So she was very much celebrated and very happy. But what we saw with my mother, as an example, is that my mother, of course, understands probably the emotional change that we have, and she knows she has this very demure, very quiet and reserved type of behavior and activity. And why in that is she is controlling the narrative within her mind. Now, for those of you who may have met me in person, you know that I'm a pretty rambunctious, very outspoken kind of person. I'm excitable. I'm also very emotional. I am very, I wouldn't say driven by, but certainly I recognize the power of emotion. And so I process that very, very well. This is why very many times I am unable to watch like YouTube and the TikTok videos where they're pulling on emotion strings. That's what the idea is. And some television shows. Recently we had the wonderful blessing of watching North by North. For those of you who haven't seen the show, it's available on Netflix. A wonderful show. But there were some very emotional parts within it, and I let it go. I had tears strolling down my face. Why? Because there were parts of the television show that were very emotional to me. I recognized the emotion that the actors were portraying. I identified with much of the story, although I am certainly not that far north. And I understood and I recognized the struggle, and I recognized their position within that struggle. So it was a very emotional show for me. So I let my emotions out. I am not one to hide them. So emotion controls the way we have experiences. Emotion sets this emotional filter, and then it's up to us to then drive the narrative behind that. So if we choose to let our environment, the experiences that we have, if we allow them to dictate our emotions and our memories of those emotions, then we are simply surrendering. We are simply allowing the whatever it is to just kind of run us over and do whatever it wants. But you have a choice. We can control that narrative. We have the authority. No one else has authority up here but you. There are many people who may offer us advice and their opinions and certainly their encouragement, their words of wisdom, whatever. But we get to choose what we accept and what we don't. We drive that. My great grandfather has a wonderful analogy for this, and that he says that our life and us as a human being, as a human experience, is like a well, a very a well of water. Okay, and so we have our little tube that goes down into the ground, and at the bottom of this well is a mosaic of beautiful rocks arranged in such a beautiful, very unique, very distinct way. And those beautiful rocks represent our values, our virtues, those things that make us and make our decision making what it is. They're down at this very bottom of this well. And the well is half filled with water. This water is, of course, can be very clear when it's settled and we're calm and everything's going the way we think it should go. The water is clear, and when we process a decision, we can look all the way down through the water to this beautiful mosaic at the bottom. And we make a decision, particularly life's decision, reflecting off those rocks. Now, obviously, when things are struggling and we're having emotional crises, and or we're just being overwhelmed, maybe with intellect, whatever, this water can become murky, and it brings up all the silt, and it makes the water kind of murky and therefore hard to see our virtues that are at the bottom of this well. Okay, now that beautiful mosaic that we've assembled at the bottom of our well, this has been placed by many different people with whom we've given some level of authority, and we've said, what they value must be valuable, because we've placed a value on their opinion, on their so we've issued them a level of authority within our own mind. So we've said, all right, you can put that rock, this value, into our well. We then accept it, and it becomes part of our value system, right? This happens very frequently when we speak about authority figures early in our lives, such as parents or grandparents or aunts and uncles and aunties and maybe even that favorite cousin. All of these people have values of their own, and they are in the in the mode of giving this value to you, because they think it's very important. So they're going to offer you the rock. Now, you have a choice as to whether you accept this rock or not. That rock, that decision is completely on you. Whether I say, oh, hey, you know, this, it's very valuable for us to love each other and to have concern and respect and honor towards every living thing. That's a value. That's a value of mine. I'm offering it to you. Now, do you accept it? That is completely on you. Whether you choose to accept it or not is your own intrinsic narrative. Now, many times people don't know what their intrinsic narrative is today. Where do you start? Well, this is where the idea of meditation and prayer, this is where it comes into play, is that we're going to momentarily suspend our physical sensory input and allow us to look inside. As we look further and further inside, we look deeper and deeper, and we can discover what our rocks are. What is the mosaic at which we have at the bottom of our... my dog is itching. But we are evaluating what our rocks are. Now, the good news is that, again, in much the same way that you have authority, you can take rocks out. Just as well as we can put rocks in, we can take rocks out. If it's not valuable to us, if it's not furthering our desire to be whom we really are, we can cast these rocks to the side. Pull them out, right? Now, many times this may cause some agitation in the water, and it may get a little murky as we're doing this. But again, in the long run, as the silt settles and we can see the mosaic at the bottom, we can begin to now make our life's decisions based on this mosaic that we've created, that we've managed, that matches our intrinsic narrative. And that's really what life is about. All right? So, for those of you who may need help recognizing your own values and what those are, by all means, don't be shy. Reach out to me at norsewhispers.com. We can have a conversation about it, and we can just uncover what some of your values are, and certainly what values you have that you may or may not need. As always, I ask that you continue to just have faith in yourself. Remember to forgive yourself. You've made decisions. They're not bad. They're simply learning decisions. You're learning choices that you've made. And those have just as much value sometimes as those choices that we make that we really love, we really appreciate. Why? Because those simply support our intrinsic narrative, our authentic self. So be kind to yourself. Remember, this is the first time that you remember being human. Some of us have the opportunity, and we may get some flashes from previous lives, and that's okay. Understand that many times the intrinsic narrative that you're building and that you're living to sometimes is one of the first things that we forget as we re-inhabit a physical form. So be kind to yourself. Remember, you're doing the best you can, and that's what's important. All right? So love yourself as I love you. Be kind to yourself, and remember, there's not a race to be where you are. There's not a race to accomplish a certain amount of things. Just be you. And trust me, that's what the world needs. You to be you. All right, my friends, enjoy your Mani's Day. We will see you again tomorrow where we will celebrate the courage of Tyr. In the meantime, think about Mani and his gift of illuminating the darkness, of bringing the moon into your life, that you may be able to provide illumination to this darkness that is within. All right. I will see you again tomorrow. Love and light. Have a wonderful Mani's Day.